Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to JP Broadcasting, and welcome into the League Zero Super Formula Championship for Round 7 out at Phillip Island here this evening. I'm your commentator, Hamish, joined by Dean Biggles once again. Dean, very quickly before we get into tonight's starting grid for the race here this evening, first of all, how are you? And second of all, excited to be at our home race of the season here at Phillip Island, which should be an absolute cracker in these open wheelers.
Time for the grid, my friend.
It is time for the grid. Starting grid, though, for this race will be as follows. Adam Merchant will start pole position alongside Matt Devine on the front row. Jaden Callaway, Fabian Sanchez for your second row. Larry Johnson, Felipe Sarkis for your top 6. Leo Del Mar, Jace Meyer, Nicholas Isidro and Julia Medore for your top 10. Antonio Bianchi, AJ Brenner will start on the 6th row with James Turnbull, Nick Pedersen, Xavier Sernar, Robert Nobles and Arturo Mayorga will make up the 17-car grid here this evening. Let's get the racing underway because these drivers they're hotly contesting this, and with Sanchez at the top of the timing sheets in terms of the championship standings, and no DBML here tonight, or Jaden Callaway is out there. He's just ahead of him on the road. He's at least going to gain something over DB. Is he going to gain over Jaden? Well, we'll find out throughout the racing portion of the evening. First race to come your way as the lights are up and we're ready to start on the main straight here. The Doing Straight of Phillip Island as we're underway down towards turn 1 for the first time here this evening. We can see that Merchant got a great start off the line. Callaway's also already gotten past Devine, and here comes Sanchez down the inside at turn 1 as well. Can he get the job done through towards 2 at Southern Loop? He's not quite there outside line though. There's already a car for track. That's Nicholas Isidro who's gone off at turn 2. And now having to struggle to get this car back on. The leaders though are leading themselves in towards Miller Corner at turn 4. And Callaway's up to P2 already. Devine holding position over Sanchez. There's a couple of swapping and changing of positions further back with Bianchi trying to get past Brenner. Brenner trying to get past Bianchi as they come in towards Siberia at turn 5. And now up through 6. And then the run up through Hayshed towards the top of the hill. This is going to be fast-paced action all throughout the night here as they run up towards the top. And then down the roller coaster ride towards MG at the bottom of the hill for turn 10, where this could be a real danger spot for this race as one of the drivers are trying to go for a quick run up the inside. It seems chaotic already here, Dean. Hopefully, though, we're on for chaotic neutral tonight as Robert Nobles and Xavier Sernar have gone round at turn 11, and there's big contact, and both of those cars will be out of this race.
Absolutely beached it as well too. Second time around too. It's low, not much of an opportunity to get these cars around here, and as you saw, there's a bit of carnage already. Looks like AJ might have gone off the track a little bit. He's running back in P10. But yeah, Nicholas, Robert, Xavier, all down and out already here.
Yeah, out of this race before the commencement of lap 2. As we can see, Sanchez and Sarkis, the teammates, will be hoping to work together as they fight their way forward once again. Of course, Sanchez leads the championship into this race here tonight. There is Antonio Bianchi, who will be trying to fight his way forward to help limit the pulsating pressure from Sanchez and Sarkis up towards his teammate Callaway further up the field. But he's got to try and traverse past Jace Meyer, Leo Del Mar and Larry Johnson if he wants to get up to the back of the top 5. He's got some work to do. And with only 11 laps of this race, it's going to go by very, very quickly. So he's got to get a wriggle on here and try and push forward if he can.
Got pressure from behind. Overtake on. Opportunities here down the main straightaway. Side by side. Into turn 1. Don't continue on or you go straight into the drink and into the ocean.
Yeah, it's a very, very rare opportunity. You get to go racing at a circuit that is literally on the coastline of the country that you're racing in. There's the water. There it is. That is the ocean right there. And they do not want to end up in the drink. Not that it's entirely possible, but
get the divers ready like in Monte Carlo.
Yeah, anything can happen, Dean. I mean, it's. I don't think it's happened, at least in modern history, at this circuit. But I wouldn't put it past them to try and do it in iRacing if they could. As Brenner is now gotten past Bianchi, looks to put the pressure on Leo Del Mar just ahead of him as well as we run up through Hayshed and towards Lukey Heights at the top of the hill. One of the tougher corners on the circuit. kind of gets away from you as you get in towards the corner, and then hard braking zone, downhill, really tough braking zone at MG, trying to get the car pulled up. A lot of times we'll see contact happening between drivers who miscalculate their braking zone in there, and they end up running it too deep or too wide. So they've managed to survive for now as they come back down the Gardner Straight down towards doing it turn 1, but there's still work to be done for some of these drivers as well. The front of the field, just quickly, Callaway and Merchant starting to go at it. Here is Brenner up the inside of Del Mar. Job done. Here comes Bianchi as well towards Southern Loop. He gets it done round the outside at 2. And now looks to rocket forward towards Stoner and Miller at 3 and 4 and try and get back past AJ Brenner if he can. Similarly, at that same corner, we've got Pedersen and Medore battling it out. And here is Brenner battling along with Larry Johnson. Can he get this job done to get himself past if he can? He looks to have done that this time by. Sorry, that was Jace Meyer, not Larry Johnson. But P7 now for Brenner, P9 for Bianchi at this stage. But it almost feels like, Dean, there's no room to breathe around here. The only real opportunity they would have to have a little breather or a little drink is down the Gardner Straight. And in these cars, especially with overtake on, you almost don't feel like you're getting much room to breathe or have a break down that straight. You are on it the whole lap pretty much.
It's full concentration around here, Phillip Island. It's essentially, what you say, more of a motorbike track than anything, hence the name of Doing and stuff like that. So look at this four-way party.
Originally it was a street circuit that was then condensed down to an actual racing course. The only things that they probably race here on a regular basis is that was James Turnbull exiting stage right at turn 2. The only things that they race here quite often, or at least every year, as you said, is the MotoGP and then the Australian Supercars Championship. There are some, obviously, state series races that happen here in Victoria, but also some other minor series as well. They're bringing open wheelers here this year, of course, so that should be the first time that they race the Australian F4 Championship at this circuit. Now in May, actually. It's coming up in a couple of weeks' time, that first event at this circuit for those cars. So it's getting a lot more traction in terms of racing, but the fact that it is an hour and a half away from its nearest major city of Melbourne, it does make it a bit harder to get some international racing happening here as well, though. But it's a phenomenal circuit, Dean, and I think it's one that a lot more iRacers should be getting a lot more laps in, because it throws out some great racing, as we can see here at the front of the field. Callaway and Merchant, they're battling it out up towards Southern Loop. Here comes Callaway inside line, but you can defend on the outside, Dean, if you get the run. They need to be careful, though, the off tracks, and you can see the debris that's on the exit from cars exiting stage right through there, that it's brought some of that gravel back onto the road surface.
Interesting how they both picked it up too. You'd only think one of the cars should be picking up, but the kitty little's kicked up on both tyres as they've displaced it now from the wheels there. Adam's still holding off, but Jaden is putting the pressure on. They have about a 1.5 second gap down the road there to Matthew Devine, and that's the situation currently in your pictures. Who will win this race? We've still got 6 laps to go, so halfway through, down in Heat 1.
So, but for Callaway, I know he'll want the win. He'll want the win over Merchant, but he doesn't necessarily need the win. And this is the first time, actually, in quite a few rounds that we've seen Callaway and Merchant go at it. These guys are arguably the two fastest drivers on the grid, and we've said that since the start of the season. But through, whether it's poor luck or not both of them being on the circuit each round, they haven't really had a chance to go at it ever since the Red Bull Ring at the start of the season, where now tonight they get to go at it tooth and nail here at Phillip Island and really put on a show for any fans that may be watching live or post-show as well. And for Callaway and Merchant, it almost seems like, these two were our hot favourites at round 1. They were ultra quick, ultra dominant at the Red Bull Ring, and we thought, well, yeah, it should be these two that are battling it out all season. But through consistency and through keeping out of trouble, Sanchez leads the way, and Amel, who had a very consistent run for quite a few rounds, which has now been compounded with some poor runs at Long Beach and then the rounds after, he's kind of found himself out of touch a little bit with this title race, but missing tonight's race and last week as well. That's going to be tough for his championship standings, as he'll only drop further and further back.
Slowly starting to pull in Fabian now, so got that half a second gap down to almost a second between the top 4, as you can see, and he's deploying some energy right now to see if he can get on the back of these drivers, because he realizes that, hey, there's an opportunity. If they come together or they have an incident, or we have seen a 2-for-1 special in overtaking, well,
he's
pressure.
finally displaced Matt Devine. So that fastest lap you mentioned of the 1:12.02, he's definitely trying to use that overtake to his advantage. I mean, there's only a couple of laps left in this race, so you might as well use it and abuse it if you've got it. So for Fabian, though, he just needs consistent finishes, and letting Callaway finish one position ahead of him is not the end of the world at this point of the season or of the round, because he'll start ahead of him in race 2. He's still getting a podium's position worth of points, and he still leads Callaway by a solid 16 points coming into this round. So he's not giving up too much at this point as well. So he'll be thinking, he's been quite smart about his season's approach, has Fabian. And I think Jaden at this point has got some work to do in the last couple of rounds to really put the pressure on that championship battle.
As we go deeper into the season, the pressure will mount up even more, as the pressure at Phillip Island is mounting around these drivers, because concentration you're going to require through tooth and nail, especially if you get closer to each other. They start to spread out a half-second gap between most of the drivers start to form there. We still have a little bit of a squabble at the back there of Julian, on the back there of Nick Peterson, who's up 5 places too, but I kind of just see if there's an overtaking opportunity here to be scripted now there for the Toyota-esque kind of livery there on Julian Moore's Munro. Actually, sorry, my apologies on that one. I'm turning into a Murray Walker, making mistakes at the moment, but then I can't compare myself to the late great legend commentating.
Well, the difference is he got to do a Pizza Hut ad with Damon Hill, and you didn't, Dean. That is AJ Brenner off the road with Jace Meyer. You have a feeling they've come together down there at Miller.
Takes 2 to tango. Oh no, it was actually just a mistake, wasn't it?
Yeah, he kind of lost the rears, and Jace had nowhere to go, unfortunately. So it's one of those scenarios of this circuit. It really challenges you all throughout. This was the lap 1 incident. Oh, yes, there was actually contact that sent Aceto off track. That caused him to drop positions and drop out of race 1. Yeah, beached.
And this was also earlier on lap 1, where I think these two get into each other. Now Robert has nowhere to go, straight into the side.
Yeah, it's unfortunate down there at Siberia. I called it as 12, but it was actually Siberia that it happened, and such a tough spot to try and avoid. As Meyer is big washout. No, you can't send it outside on the second part of the apex. You've really got to line that up at the actual entry to the corner. You cannot try and do it mid-corner, because the wash-off that you need on the pace is going to drop you so far down. It's so easy to do that, just to run it out wide. And it could even have been as simply as taking the first apex too early, that then has caused his trajectory to be off track, and now, unfortunately, he's dropped further back out of that battle. But as we can see here back up the front, Merchant and Callaway, they've not let each other go just yet. Sanchez as well, I've noticed, is on the red part of his overtake, so he's used the majority of it now. He'll have none of it for the final lap, as Devine looks to chase him down and try and get back past him. And the battle pack at the front of Callaway and Merchant is down to less than a second, as Callaway wants it on the outside at Southern Loop. Can he finally get the job done on Merchant? He can't that time, by a bit of a wiggle mid-corner has cost him the run out of Southern Loop in towards Stoner, now down towards the braking zone of Miller, where this would have been his best opportunity for that overtake, but he gave it up thanks to the wiggle through 2.
A little bit of a lock-up as well too, but just running out of time for overtakes. It looks like there was a switcheroo there. Actually, Matthew has gone off the track.
Yeah, Matt's locked up in through Miller, and I think he's off the circuit as well. So that's now given Johnson a top 5 position and the provisional pole for race 2. And we get that reverse top 5 continuous grid happening as we run towards MG. Callaway's nowhere near close enough at the moment to Merchant to get past him. It's going to take a mistake from Adam here for Callaway to get past. He's got overtake open taps completely on the final run, but he's not going to have enough time to get past him, I don't think, as we run down the Gardner Straight for the final time. Adam Merchant is going to get the win, only just in race number 1. with Sanchez on the podium, Sarkis P4 in the number 4 car, and then Johnson comes home P5. That'll be the reverse part of the grid, those 5 drivers getting reversed for race number 2. And then Devine, Pedersen, Medore, Bianchi, Del Mar, Maya, Mayorga, Turnbull will make up the 13 cars that'll finish this race, with Brenner, Isidro, Serna, and Nobles in pit lane.
Wow. 4 thousandths of a second. Was not 34 thousandths of a second just at the dying stages of that one. But Adam did hold off under that pressure and got the job done for our Heat 1. Here are the results for you.
And the results of race number 1, we saw Adam Merchant take the win over Jaden Callaway. And then it was Fabian Sanchez in P3. He'll extend his championship lead over the majority of the field, aside from Callaway and Merchant. Callaway's the one he's got to worry about because he's the one who's currently within enough points to actually overtake him in the championship standings here tonight. And then it was Sarkis P4 and Johnson P5. Those 5 cars will get reversed for the starting grid of race 2, with Johnson starting pole alongside Sarkis, and then so on. The rest of the field, Matt Devine unfortunately made a mistake on the final lap. That dropped him out of the 5 and into P6. Nick Pedersen P7, Julian Medoro, in P8. P9, Antonio Bianchi, Leo Del Mar for your top 10, Jace Meyer, Arturo Mayorga, James Turnbull, AJ Brenner. And then Nicholas Isidro, Xavier Serna, and Robert Nobles for the rest of the field. But a little warm-up now for these drivers to get more and more accustomed and attuned to this Phillip Island circuit as well. And I think for them now, I mean, we're getting into the nitty and gritty part of the championship. The rest of May, we'll find out who is our champion, of course, by the end of the season. But this is the last month of the League Zero Formula Series, now that we are within May. Next week, we head out to the Nürburgring Grand Prix Strecker for the WEC layout of the Grand Prix circuit. And that's going to be a good test for these drivers as well. Of course, a classic Grand Prix style of circuit, the better variant of the Nürburgring. Doesn't have that crappy, tight chicane at the back end of the field. It has the nice flowing chicane at the back of the circuit. Then we head out to Imola for Autodromo Internacional NZ Dino Ferrari for round 9 and May 15, and then out at the Circuit of the Americas for the final round on May 22nd. So pretty much we come from Phillip Island and then we go to 3 all-time Grand Prix open wheeler circuits to end out our season, where there should be some great racing on offer for us, Dean. In the 824, 1030, and another 824 to end out the season. It'll be a good test for them, but it's, I think those circuits, these drivers, if they're open wheel fans, should have plenty of laps around them. But they're going to be great in terms of giving us opportunity to see who are the contenders and who are the pretenders across the final few rounds.
You're a poet, you didn't even know it. The contender, pretending to contend, or contending to pretend. I like it. Some of the drivers are coming out for a little bit of a practice session. Wonder if anybody's going to be practicing those standing starts again, as we see. And right on cue, I think Julian is. No? Julian's going to do that magic press escape and return to pit road iRacing non-simulation style disappearing act.
Yeah, the immediate tow back to pit lane.
I have a beef with that. I reckon that you have to drive it back into pit road. If you're going to properly do a racing sim, you drive it back into pit road. If you crash during practice, you're out of the rest of the practice session. Same thing with qualifying. There is no cheat codes.
There are race series which have a no return rule. So if you have to tow, you're out of the session. Mm-hmm. Which a lot of those is kept for pro series, at least here in Australia, to try and keep it as close to realism as possible. I mean, we can only take it so far. Other series,
arcade games like the F1 game, stuff like that, you crash it out, you're out.
That's true.
Believe it or not, and that's an arcade game.
I think it's because this is more or less it's a sim. So like if you're in like test drive or practice, you want to be able to keep practicing if you make a mistake, and it allows drivers to push the limits. The difference is on the F1 game, you have got rewind. So if you crash, you can rewind and then try and not crash.
And that is running a little bit too deep into the corner there from Nicholas, as you can see on the pictures, and he's going to get back onto the binders, actually, and that's not bad. It's just one little thing to practice too, because if you are off in the race and you do have to go off in the circuit,
Well,
you
this,
won't retire the car, will you? You
no,
literally
that's
have
right.
to recover it, get the kitty litter off your tyres, get back up at a speed there, lose no doubt probably a couple of places, unless you had a massive gap, of course, between any of the drivers. But
So I
that's
suppose
also something to practice.
it is, because the real difficulty of this circuit is how far off track you can actually get. You'll notice if we at some point get to an overhead shot down towards turn one, there's basically just a giant paddock of grass or field of grass to the left hand side of turn one. Where if you end up off track there, yes, you can cut all the way down towards the run to turn three. It's a massive slowdown, and I think actually you can also get a black flag for that too, for cutting the circuit. But once you're on this grass, it is like ice down there. Down through one, it's so hard to get the thing pulled up and trying to move forward. As you can see, the shoreline here of Phillip Island, down here in Victoria of Australia, my home circuit. One of my two home circuits, both of them, Phillip Island and Sandown, an hour away from my house, so I can pick and choose which one is my home. Larry Johnson, though, starts pole for race number 2. Felipe Sarkis, Fabian Sanchez, and Jaden Callaway for your top 4. Adam Merchant for the top 5. That's the reverse top 5, race 1. The rest of the field will start how they finished, with Matt Devine, Nick Pedersen, Julian Medore in behind them. Antonio Bianchi, Leo Del Mar make up the top 10. Jace Meyer and Arturo Mayorga will then make up the top 12, as we see James Turnbull, AJ Brenner, Nicholas Isidro, Xavier Senna and Robert Nobles for the top 17. Isidro not on circuit at the moment, maybe starting from pit lane, I'm not sure. But we have at least got 16 cars on the track for race number 2 here this evening, as the lights are going up for them. And the beginning of race number 2 is shortly but sweetly so close. And we are underway for race 2 at Phillip Island, and the run down the Gardner Straight towards doing it 1 begins once again, and the scramble for position begins early as we see Merchant trying to get past Callaway immediately. Is there contact through 1? No, they survive this time. Is there contact through 2? No, they survive this time as well. As we run down towards Stoner at 3 and in towards the braking zone of Miller at 4. Big overtaking opportunity to come for Sarkis if he wants to get this done around the outside of Johnson, but he couldn't quite get it through as drivers are trying to get the cars pulled up. There's a bit of toing and froing in throughout the whole field, and it's 2 wide action for 3 little battle packs in a row as they lead into Siberia for the first time of race 2. Bianchi, Sanchez, and Devine have come together down at Siberia. Multiple cars have dropped off the circuit, and for Sanchez, the championship leader, he's now got work to do if he hopes to leave Phillip Island the championship lead, especially with Callaway so far up the field. So what has happened? Oh, there was contact with Devine and Sanchez, and it was always going to end poorly. Down into there, and Bianchi having to take avoiding action. He ended up off the road. But the difference is now it is Sarkis who leads the race, and Johnson is under immense pressure from Jaden Callaway and Adam Merchant in behind. Nick Pedersen now finds himself inside of the top 5. Brenner, Cedro, Maya Del Mar, Turnbull for your top 10 as we run through Stoner Corner into the hard braking zone of Miller as well. Again, this is one of the better overtaking opportunities of the whole race as Merchant wants it up the inside of Callaway if he can get it. And now the run up towards Siberia. Callaway just gets him back as we look further back into the battle pack here of Isidro with Jace Meyer as they continue their battle pack on. But look at the debris that's been brought onto the road at Siberia thanks to that lap 1 incident between Devine, Bianchi and Sanchez there, Dean. A massive amount of gravel that's been brought on there. That's going to tighten up the line through Siberia and going to make the run even harder, because the exit of Siberia, very, very easy to lose the rear end and end up on the mounds on the inside of the corner. And now in these scenarios, though, you've got to try and hit the marks and avoid those incidents. As we can see, the pack starts to fly through towards 1. Merchant and Callaway get past Johnson as they battle towards Southern Loop once again. And Merchant has got him. As we fight up towards turn 2. In turn 3, we can see further back here. Del Mar trying to get past the
you're
seat.
not going to make that stick.
Oh, you're never going to make it stick.
Tamar.
Oh, it's...
Way too hot into that
no.
corner. He did that earlier too, I think,
hot.
as well. And I was kind of like, I don't think you can make it, mate. A few drivers like to make risk takers into that turn, and it's not one that you can just easily pull it up on a dime.
No, it's one of the toughest spots that you can try and get it done, but you've got to get the work done as Turnbull is absolutely blown up MG. How in the hell has he pulled that up? How in for all that is nice and holy about racing has he just pulled that up into the braking zone of MG? That is one of the toughest spots to do it, and he nearly collected the car ahead of him.
Yeah, very good responsive time, as he had to absolutely get on the anchors there, and but not completely lock up and slam into him. So just a slight little, I wouldn't say it's chicken foot on that one. It was wise as Julie's been pushed into the kitty litter. He's got to get out of it. He's got to keep the momentum going as well, too. You will get beached here in the beaches of Australia, of course, but down here at Phillip Island, they're generally not famous for its beaches, apart from its road track here at Phillip Island's beaches.
Yeah, it's the second race in a row. He's ended up off the track at Southern Loop and trying to go for an outside line if he could, but you just can't get the run. It is so difficult to get the grip out there on the outside of the segment, especially when more and more of that gravel getting dragged back onto the racing surface. It's going to make that corner so much more tougher than it already is throughout the rest of this race. And we've still got 30-odd laps to go in this one, as the leaders will look to start lap 5 very, very shortly, as Sarkis leads to Merchant and Callaway and Johnson and Brenner for your top 5. Pedersen, Meyer, Cedro, Nobles, Mayorga for the 10. As here comes Merchant, outside line for Doohan corner. Here on Felipe Sarkis, can he get the job done this time by? They are so close, and here comes Callaway, and now it's the outside line for Sarkis at Southern Loop. Merchant sneaks on through. Callaway wants to sneak in as well. Can he get the run towards Stoner and Miller and try and put the car alongside for the braking zone? Too wide action through 3 and into the braking zone once again. Here comes Sarkis though, inside line at Miller. Can he get by Callaway? They're still too wide up towards Siberia. Callaway's having to work for it. He's having to earn it if he can. They're now running up towards Haitian. Still too wide action. And they're not going to go too wide up at Lukey Heights, are they? Surely not. One of them's got to get out of it, and it's Callaway this time by that does.
I think Callaway knows that it's a wise move to continue this battle and pressure on there, but there are only a certain amount of risks, and of course at the end of the day you can gamble so much and might not pay off, but he's put the pressure on that. So actually allowed Adam Merchant now to get Adam to get a little bit of breathing space up the road, and Larry Johnson's just in the background there on P4.
Yeah, he played the smart play back out of it. You're never going to get too wide up at Lukey Heights, so he at least had the wherewithal to do that. But he still wants too wide through Doohan. He'll want too wide through Southern Loop to try and get the outside run. If he can, he sends it on the outside of Sarkis, but Sarkis is still there. He's now caught out on the inside of Stoner, but it'll be the outside for Miller. This may give Callaway the run that he needs to get the move done, as Sarkis has to break early. Callaway last of the late breakers. Job done for Jaden Callaway in an incredible battle that lasted around about 2 laps there across the run. But what a move by Jaden Callaway. He had to push for it. Sarkis did all that he could, and he could not hold him off. And I suppose that's why Jaden Callaway has the number 1 on his car.
Yeah, that's a fight. This is an absolute fight, and a good fight. So Phillip Sarkis could fight back on that one a little bit later on, force him into a mistake, putting some pressure. But at this point now, he may have to check his mirrors to the number 13, Larry Johnson, who's now caught this party. And don't forget about AJ Brammer, who's up 9 places, currently running P5.
Well, for Sarkis, does he have too much to worry about with Johnson? Johnson's proven he has got some good pace. It's whether he can continue to apply this pressure to Sarkis and maybe compound the pressure that he may be feeling after getting passed by Jaden Callaway. Maybe even the frustrations of getting passed by Jaden Callaway as well. As we can see at turn 1 with this battle happening between Sernar and Mayorga for P10. Sernar sent it up the inside at 1, got the job done before Southern Loop, and now they look to push on towards the next battle pack as well. But you can see here, there's a car off the circuit. That's Julian Medore further back, at Miller. So he's now going to drop outside of the top 10 as well here, Dean. So it's thick and fast. Everything's happening in the first 7 laps of this race. How much more can happen across the next 27 odd laps of this one?
Yeah, this is what can happen if it goes a little bit pear-shaped, and this is exactly what happens to James, and that's what happened just before.
Oh, James Turnbull, that's who it was, yes. Sorry.
The drivers go zipping on by right there in your pictures. Thankfully, he was off the runoff area, not on the racing line, so it didn't affect their race as he slowly crawls back in. Once again, that's your reason why you do your practices, of course, in your warm-ups. If you do come off the track there, don't tow, drive it back, see, and get back into the race. Plenty of time to go, 27.
Yeah, plenty of time to go in this race. I mean, 27 laps, so much more on offer for us in terms of racing. And I wonder how willing drivers are going to go for the undercut here, because the undercut can be strong at Phillip Island. It's depending how willing you are to push for it. The difference is how short the lap times are in these cars. There's a fine line balance of lap time to pit stop time and how long your travel is through the pit lane. It's a long and slow pit lane as Leo Del Mar goes round. That is down at, that was turn 11.
Well, what I wanted to tell you about, you're talking about the undercut. Leo did go in before into pit road. So he's already been in pit lane. Fabian Sanchez has, Bianchi has, and he's come out there. So he's already, unfortunately, made a little bit of an error.
Yeah,
a little bit of a boo-boo.
It's gonna make 11 so much harder now, because that's already a tough corner. You're wrestling the car, trying to keep it sturdy through that portion of the track. It's a corner which can catch drivers out so easily, no matter what car type they're in. Just a little bit too much throttle through 11, and the rear end wants to say hello, as we've just seen with Leo Del Mar in perfect representation there. But for these drivers now, you've got gravel on the outside of the circuit, a majority of parts of the circuit where there are gravel traps. You've just got to try and push on, hope that the gravel displaces, and that you can at least get some clean running up the front of the field. And, well, with 20 odd laps to go still left to run in this race, it is getting pressure, they're getting pressure upon pressure now to fight their way forward further and further with 25 laps to go on the next lap time by. It's still plenty of racing to be done here, Dean, but we are going to get into that that period of the race where we're kind of in the lull. We're in the period of just get to your next section of racing, get to your pit stop, get to the final 10 laps or so, and then that's where they're really going to push forward. And I would assume the majority of the field is what we've seen over the last couple of weeks. They will be banking this push to pass for the final 10 lap surge to the end of this race.
Yeah, that's exactly. You stole the words out of my mouth. I was going to ask you about that management deployment of that push to pass, that overtake button that they have available at their disposal. When they're going to start using it, obviously towards the end there, you're going to be comfortable with having it. Of course, if you have the lead of this race like Adam does at the moment, he has the ability to use that as a defensive mechanism, or he has the ability, of course, to perhaps if he's going to go into pit road there, put in some absolute banker laps. You can see a little bit of a deployment maybe from Jaden Holloway. We did have AJ go into the kitty litter as well, I thought, just come off track anyway. Let's have a look, only for a second or so, but thankfully I don't think it's...
Yeah.
Oversteer, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I think he caught some of that gravel that's on the curb down there, and that curb is... You're a death rider pretty much if you're riding on that curb. Sometimes you see there, he caught the sand that was right there on the edge of the circuit, and just a massive speed wobble almost ended in absolute disaster for him. Luckily he kept it going, but these are the challenges of this track. It's not the fact that it's fast and flowing. It's not the fact that it can be difficult to pass here. You've got to deal what can be brought back on circuit when drivers ultimately make mistakes and end up off the track. And it's so easy to end up off track here, as this was the lap 1 incident down at Siberia with Devine, Sanchez, and then Bianchi, having to go wide and off circuit as Robert Nobles is in pit lane. But did he have a little wiggle, and that's what's caused the car to kind of snap right and make contact? Yeah.
No, it's before Sanchez, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was
into the
it was like he had a little wiggle for for Deveen's car there through for the Jordan. Yeah, he had the little wiggle mid corner, and then it's just made contact, and both of them have gone off. So that's a really weird one. I don't know if I've ever seen that happening at that corner where you get a slight wiggle of oversteer, and then you try and correct, and then you're both off. I mean, that's a really awkward scenario to be in.
And that's lap one shenanigans as per usual. And thankfully for the halo as well too, is a slide straight over the top. As you can see here, it'll go boom, right over. That would have been entire into the driver's helmet, and if that was real life, of course. And thankfully, this is only a virtual one. But at the same time, that would have, if it was a real life situation, that halo would have definitely saved that driver's potential life.
It'll be a similar scenario of Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton at Turn 1-2 at Monza. Which Hamilton would have thought, I wish I could be the size of Yuki Tsunoda right now, because the tyre was inside the halo pretty much. He was saved by the fact that the halo caught the actual rim and stopped it from dropping any lower than what it did. But the safeties and advances that they've made through technology in Formula One over the last 2 decades it's ridiculous how well they've been able to, I would say, improve the cars. They've improved the technology. I don't know if they've improved the racing over the last 5 years or so. I would argue the best racing is still just before the 2010s, like the late noughties. Was likely the best time the racing actually ever got in Formula One, and ever since then it's almost been on a slow trajectory downhill. Still better than 2017 though.
Yeah. Well, races this year have not been very exciting apart from weather condition changes. As we can see AJ looking for making a move here. Exactly. So you can have a bit of a lay down during the Formula One GPs.
I just think Formula One has just gotten so boring. Like I actually think qualifying is the most exciting part of the weekend, because it's just drivers cutting laps. You get to the racing and you get 1 or 2 moments on circuit, and then all of a sudden it just peters out and gets really, really spread out and down to a so-called strategy that's going to help a driver get forward, but it never eventuates to, because the other team still has to deploy their strategy, which will do the same thing.
The cars are they are equally generally pretty balanced. But at
They're
the
pretty
same time,
balanced
too,
apart from the power unit.
You can remember you got Monaco coming up, which is like good luck trying to find an overtake on that one. It's all done in pit lane.
Monaco is going to be. It is the literal definition of qualifying is the best part of the weekend.
Yes.
Like Monaco qualifying is the best part of Monaco.
I don't see that they're adding an extra pit stop just to try to bring some excitement into Monte-Carlo. I mean, it's just going to act the track. It's just.
It's not. Yeah. How is it going to bring excitement? It's going to bring people through pit lane one extra time.
Yeah.
Where then they're still going to come out in the same gap that they have. I don't see how it's going to do anything.
They don't want to axe the track because it's all the sponsors and all. That's where 90% of the drivers and team managers and stuff like that live as well too. So I mean, you're not going to.
Do it in reverse then.
Do it in reverse.
Anyway, do the track backwards. That'll fix it.
Jaden, or pop-up sprinklers, things like that.
Yeah.
Bernie come up with the idea of it. And Monaco's very much a track you could do pop-up sprinklers or hoses or something like that there on a random situation there. But anyway, look at that. Demar just set the fastest lap on that last lap there. So Lear's got that under control right now for the Frenchman, but he is quite a bit down the road there from his closest.
Maybe what they should do for Monaco is bring back refueling and introduce an endurance race for Formula One, where drivers have to actually change seats in the F1 car. They have a co-driver and they have to do a driver swap. Maybe that's what they need to do to spice up Monaco.
If you can, at some point, if there's a possibility, yes.
Maybe that is the answer to making Monaco enjoyable. Yeah, but they never will. They never will. They'll never drop the historic circuits like Silverstone, Monza, and Long Beach. Not Long Beach, Monaco. Well, Long Beach is like Monaco, but yeah, they'll never drop and they bring in too much money. since Monaco's a tax haven. It brings in so much money to Formula One that they'll never drop it.
It's not a tax haven if you're French.
It's probably why Romain Grosjean didn't live there.
No, none of the French, and Pierre and all that, none of the French drivers live there.
I think Pierre does.
Is Pierre there?
Yeah.
I might be wrong. Let us know in the chat there, Ricky. Vamos to you.
Yeah, Ricky Espino with us in the chat. Great to have you out there with us as well. We're just coming up to the halfway point of this race, and there's still plenty of action to come for these drivers, with pit stops beginning for Larry Johnson and Antonio Bianchi into pit lane here at Phillip Island. You see them traversing in, trying to find their pit man and where they have to stop to get their work done on their cars as well. As this was the entry for Johnson. Oh,
John, he's come off the track coming in here and he's hit the fence. Because watch this.
Yeah, that's it's an unsafe pit entry. How? Okay, he's been saved by the fact the car has auto-fixed itself, but that's an unsafe pit entry, so he's now going to have a stop hole penalty, unfortunately for Johnson. Yeah, just taking a few too many beans on the entry to the pit lane there for Johnson. Yeah, put a couple too many beans there on the old foot pedal, but Meyer is still battling along here with Nick Pedersen up ahead of him at this stage. This is the battle for P4 as they run up the road. Brenner, Callaway, Merchant, your top three, as Callaway's into pit lane, so the first of the front runners are in. Sarkis is pit. He pit on lap 14, so we'll see now if the undercut is going to work well for Felipe Sarkis, who's only just coming up through Lukey Heights and down towards MG. As Pedersen and Meyer continue down the straight, Brenner and Isidro are also into pit lane as well. Callaway's just stopped in the box, and Sarkis is about to traverse around turn 12, but I have a feeling that Callaway may get out ahead of him as he runs just to the exit of pit lane. There's Callaway out ahead of Sarkis, but Sarkis is still right there, so he hasn't gotten past him, but he's still within reach.
That's what he likes. He would like to be in front of him coming out pit road, but didn't quite have the gap to get it done, or enough time, because it looked like Callaway did eventually get the call up from his team. Kind of like in Formula One, what we'd have to cover off that potential undercut from building up to, let's say, dangerous levels of potentially being overtaken in pit road.
As we run down towards the back end of the circuit once again.
When's Adam going to pit?
When is he going to pit? Yeah, Meyer and Pedersen's in, so he's going long. So he wants a longer stint now. Does Merchant. So Mayoga, Medore yet to pit as well. Meyer and Pedersen, though, in pit lane. Oh, Mayorga, he's off the track. He tried to come into pit lane. I saw him blink sort of a dark grey and then back to white again. So I thought, oh, maybe he's coming to pit lane and made a mistake, and he has. He's completely cooked. Oh, my God. He found the jump, and he's now got a broken car.
I wonder if he was planning on coming in, because if you look at it, he goes out wide on the chicane.
Yeah, he was. He wanted to come in. But unfortunately, he caught the rears, and you can just see that jump.
Oh, yeah, your back's gone, mate.
Yeah, the back is destroyed at that point. From that one.
Is that another example of not practicing your pit stop entrances?
Yeah, I would say so. This circuit is one where you've got to practice your pit entry because it's such a fast run into pit lane. And it's not straight ahead; it's on a curve, so you've got to try and get your practice in. I mean, as well as the fact of pit entry has no rubber laid out on it, so it's slippery. So you've got to try and balance that choice of take it easy and push on. Yeah, Medore into pit lane. He did well there on that pit entry. That was good.
That could be practice makes perfect there for the Canadian driver. So he will drop out behind AJ Brenner and Jace, perhaps there. Nick will still have to wait to see when Adam elects to go down into pit road. But for now, you'd have to say Felipe is starting to put that pressure back onto Callaway now. To get down about 7/10 after the pit stops.
The issue now for Felipe is not overusing that push to pass, because I have a feeling that Jaden has banked nearly all of his push to pass at this point of the race, and he's going to let it flow out like a well, like a Bavarian beer tap going into a keg. I mean, he is waiting to release it for the final run in this race and trying to push himself forward if he can. But also to build gap back to Sarkis and try and undercut Merchant at this point of the race. So I don't think Callaway's taking it too easy, but I don't know if he's pushing on hard enough to gain the spot over Merchant at the front of the field. Now, my thoughts are, Dean, when does Xavier and Adam come in? Because they're going as long as possible. The longer they go on, the worse the tyres are going to get, and that then's going to turn into an issue, especially because they're almost tantalizingly close to making a mistake in terms of going too long on the tyres and pushing themselves too far forward as well. So, but Callaway, he is not slowing down. He has just set the fast lap of the race, a 1:12.01 on that last lap, as Brenner wants the inside line on Jace Meyer. But Meyer's going to have something to say about it up through Southern Loop. If he can hold position, he does. And now they run towards Miller and Stone, or Stoner and Miller begins once again as Brenner wants the insides at 3. Can he get it round the outside at 4? They make contact. They somehow survive, but it's forced Brenner off the circuit and out into the grass. That's allowed a seed throw, and Pedersen past him now as Merchant is into pit lane.
Xavier will stay out on the track there. Callaway's putting those banker laps, probably aware that now is the time to absolutely put everything he can to perhaps try and take it around the final couple of corners. Merchant still in pit road, coming out now. I think Adam's still got a clear lead on this one.
Yeah, no, he is. He's well ahead. He did not push on fast enough there, unfortunately. But did Merchant, did he free flow the overtake to try and build gap to stay out ahead of Callaway? I mean, he's come out ahead. He's come in ahead of Xavier, and he's come out still ahead of him. So that's how much he's gained over that last little stint there. So it's paid off well for Adam Merchant. But the chase down is now on for Jaden Callaway and Felipe Sarkis. They've got to gain 2.1 seconds to Adam Merchant if they can. Well, it's actually roughly about 2.6 seconds or so, but still a lot of time to be gained for them. A couple of drivers out of the session, Devine, Nobles, and Johnson out of this race, unfortunately. Bianchi's back in pit lane. He's been in pit lane now for quite a few laps, so that might be his night done. Mayorga's also in pit lane as well. So 12 cars on circuit at the moment as we run up towards Lukey Heights once again. Adam Merchant leads the way to Xavier Sernar, Jaden Callaway, Felipe Sarkis, Jace Meyer for the top 5, Nicholas Isidro, Nick Pedersen, AJ Brenner, Fabian Sanchez, Leo Del Mar for the top 10, Midori Turnbull for the 12. Sernar still needs to do his pit stop though in this race as Callaway sets another fastest lap, 1:11.92. The last time by for Jaden Callaway. So he is pushing tooth and nail to catch up to Sernar and Merchant, and he's leaving Sarkis in his trail in behind him. So for Callaway, it is full push, full glory, go for the win.
Traffic.
Yeah, the traffic of Sernar is going to hurt him. Sernar needs to pit. There's also lap traffic ahead of them as well. So this is not going to help his case trying to fight forward and catch up to Merchant if he can. But he's on the heels of Sernar, 0.2 of a second on the back of Xavier. He needs Xavier to pit this lap. Is it worth going for the send at MG? Oh, he doesn't feel like it is. He wants to just kind of wait and bide his time. But what it's doing is it's building the gap now back up to Merchant at the front of 2.5 seconds, and Sernar's in pit lane. So he finally comes in, but has the damage been done to Jaden Callaway's race with 2.7 seconds? He needs to gain to catch up to Adam Merchant at the front of the field with lap traffic to deal with as well.
Yeah, Adam's down the road here at the moment now. But also, we didn't see, more importantly, any of the push to pass being used on those laps either. So have they saved this extra bank here of the remaining 12 laps to go to start putting the pressure on is the key. Further back in the field, there's still that nice little battle brewing for 5th, 6th, and 7th as as Sene has come back out in 9th after staying out for the last driver on this race to take a pit stop.
Yeah, and you see as well, Fabian Sanchez is now back inside of the top 10. So this has now played out well for him after the lap 1 incident. He just pushed on pit early and has just been cutting lap after lap. Now the question is, has he got enough fuel to get to the end? I would assume so, because he waited all the way till lap 4 to pit, which then makes me think they actually could have gone longer and actually gone to maybe even lap 30 on this initial tank.
You can see Jace Meyer at the moment. They're just he's using his overtake button because he wants to get a break away from these 3 drivers behind him in the 5th, 6th, and 7th spot. He doesn't want them to be all over him, but perhaps very soon they may be. As you can see in the picture, he's just maintaining about a half a second gap. You see Callaway still putting those banker laps in. But that's not a great deal. Just because the purple shines up there, you're talking about an 11.85 versus an 11.89 for Merchant. So that's not a great deal. But what is a great deal is the battle brewing on your pitches at the moment, because Nicholas does get past Jace Meyer. Nick Pedersen and AJ is next up on the list there. You can see Jace Myers having to use that overtake button just to defend at this point to not drop a couple of places with the Rabbit Racing team.
And that's the balancing act that drivers are having to tackle now, is when do you attack and when do you defend with the push to pass. I've noticed as well on the last lap, Merchant had set the fastest lap of the race, 1:11.89, and then Callaway swiftly says, that ain't happening, 1:11.85 straight after. So they're battling for fastest lap at the front of the field, but they're both on the same amount of pace as Brenner gets the big slide through Siberia. Somehow catches it. But I have a feeling there may be a couple of different coloured streaks on that car after that moment of that corner. Maybe he's got the brown streaks on that car. That's smart after that moment.
That's the problem at that point when you're following cars. You can get yourself into the Merchants has responded now. First man into the 11 club. Wow.
No, technically he's the second, because
yes.
he went first with an 11.89. Callaway then did an 11.85 literally right after him, and now he's done an 11.79. So the fastest lap battle continues on at the front of the field as they continue pushing on forward. But for Isidro and Maya, they are battling their heart's content for P4. Isidro runs it slightly wide into the grass. That's going to ruin the run down towards 3 and ruin the position for him as Pedersen gets by now as well. Is Pedersen going to send it at Miller? Oh, you bet he is. Can he get it done around the outside? No, still too wide with Jace Meyer and Nick Pedersen. Through Siberia they come. Meyer, though, can he get the run here? Big wiggle from Pedersen. That might help him. It has, as he takes the lead back at Hayshed in this battle pack. Isidro, though, don't. Good boy. Do not make it too wide there. That is not smart racing. That was smart racing, though, to not go for it. So he played the smart play, and I'm glad that he didn't make it too wide, because that very easily, Dean, could have been 2 more cars out of this race.
His engineers just let him know that you still have 9 more laps to go, and you still have probably a bank of 60-something seconds of overtake to do. So do not waste it by going to the kitty litter, but you can do an overtake here, my friend. Last and late break is Daniel Ricciardo style. Slips in just ahead there, just a lift off, actually not a heavy braking zone. But tell you what, at the moment, Jace does not want to yield that position to Nicholas Isidro.
Nicholas, though, in a great run through 1 and 2. Turn 1, gets the position over Pedersen. Turn 2, sends it at Southern Loop and gets it over Jace Meyer. Does Meyer come back at him? Brenner wants to have a crack now as well, as Pedersen and Meyer continue their battle, but Pedersen ruins the run through Miller, runs it wide. He looks to lose a spot now to AJ Brenner on the outside at Siberia, as Meyer and Isidro continue to battle up ahead of them. This 4-way battle pack is heating up for us here, Dean. It's not on a slight simmer. It feels like we're at boiling point for this battle, and that these guys are contesting with danger the further and further that they go on with it. But I am absolutely loving it. It is an incredible battle, and it's all for P4 on the road.
Hopefully we get to see that battle there if Callaway can start chipping away at that lead at the moment that Adam has, but at this point it's kind of stagnated. So this is where your action is currently on your screens, and there's those 4 gladiators battling it out in the arena here at Phillip Island.
What a battle we are getting. And I mean, it's only for the minors, it's only for P4, but It's the battle that we've got, and it's the battle that we're loving at the moment with 8 laps to go of this race for these drivers. It's 8 more laps of sending it at corners, making those decisions, racing, making and breaking decisions that, as I said, they make or break you, and they make or break your racing prowess. And at the moment, they've been playing the smart game, making the smart decisions, namely a Cedro not going too wide at Lukey Heights. That was the smart play. He waited. He didn't take the low percentage move. He took the high percentile move, and the rest of the field are trying to do the same thing as Brenner. Wants it on the outside of Pedersen. Couldn't do it at MG. Needs to be careful, though, of the run now through 11. Manages to keep it nice and smooth. And now as we run down the main straight, he'll be thinking of where he may be able to get this job done, Dean. Because he's got to try and work for it over the next 6 laps.
You got to just get past disposing of those cars. So Jace Myers might be out completely of that overtake. He is. I think
used it all.
Very close to being out of it. We saw that before he hit 6 seconds.
He's on reserve. He's on reserve, so it's once we see that red on the air intake, that's when they're really, really low. So he's still got some left in the tank, but how much does he have? Well, we'll only know when he uses it. But he's in conservation mode at the moment, trying to build it up to use it in the last run in this race, if he can. And I'd just like to mention the Merchant has set 1 minute 11 second laps, the last 5 laps in a row. He is pushing on at the front of the field. The gap is now out to 5 seconds, Dean, at the front, just to give an update on that. As his teammate Brenner is in the wars here for P4 on the road. He's trying to get by Pedersen. That would give him P6. And then Meyer would give him P5. And then a Cedro would give him P4. So these 4 cars have settled in once again. And I have a feeling they're maybe biding their time a little bit here, Dean, for the last few laps to really push on and try and take position.
Well, this is where any action's going to happen a little bit further down the road. It's Sanchez, as you just see in your pictures. A little bit of a lock-up occurring here. So this is where you're getting to the battle parts of the track again. And Callaway's just got to sit there and maybe just hope that Merchant makes a little bit of an error on track, because at this point, it's Merchant's race to lose.
Yeah, I mean, if he's been banking the overtake, he's banked it too much as Meyer and Cedro battle it out into Miller, and they both make contact, and off the road, Brenner and Pedersen come through. So it's blown up in front of us for these guys, and now Cedro is off of the top 4, and he'll be seething because he might feel that Meyer maybe pushed the envelope a little bit too far trying to get it done down there at turn 4.
Yeah, we'll go back and have a quick geezer at that one. Oh, just running wide again too. It looks like
there's been contact made down at MG as well. So this was the first bit of contact that knocked them both off circuit. And then if we head back up to the incident at MG with Cedro and Meyer, so he tries to go for it, but he runs it wide into the grass, and look, it's a dart. You cannot get it stopped. As soon as the arrow is shot, there's no stopping it. So unfortunately, Cedro into pit lane out of this race, as is Jace Meyer. And I don't know if he'll be particularly happy about that one. James Turnbull, though, is still on circuit. He'll be trying to get past these guys. He's on their same lap as well. He's got work to do to get past them. So this little fatal 4-way has gotten down to a crucial one-on-one for P4. As a lock-up into Miller for Pedersen is not going to help him. As Brenner continues to apply the pressure now, with only 5 or 4.5 laps left to run for these drivers. The leaders will be coming up on the start of the 31st lap of this race to mark 4 laps to go here at the island for League 0 Formula Series Round 7 of this season.
4 into 2 now, as they had their first squabble and then eventually the second squabble. You called it. You said that by this battle's continuing for lap after lap after lap, whilst it's absolutely exciting and you're loving it, it's also brewing up into a natural number odds game against something coming together, and that's been the situation. Look at that push to pass being deployed right now from AJ.
Eventually, with the battles, as Brenner slots it up the inside of Pedersen at 1, eventually, at least what I've found, Dan, I don't know about you, but the longer a battle goes on, the percentage starts to favor the opportunity for a crash to happen, because drivers can only cars can only be alongside each other for so long before they make contact. It's like the old scenario of you put more cars around each other, the higher the percentage goes up for crashes. As this was the initial contact. So he tried to, it was a late dive. It was a very late dive from Meyer. Low percentage move in towards Miller. And you see there, I mean, it was so late.
Didn't expect it, did he? Turns in and
Cedro he didn't know he was there. Yeah, it's just such a late dive. And it wasn't going to work, unfortunately.
Double tap just for good measure and said, you shouldn't be doing that, mate. That's what happens sometimes.
No, so as Cedro's back out there, though, he has gotten his car fixed and he is racing once again. Meyer is still in pit lane, so he might be actually getting the... he might not have race ending damage. It might have just been optionals. So
just tries to control it, and there's not a lot you can do at that point.
You can't. Well. You're a passenger at that point. Even if you apply the brakes, it's downhill. You're carrying so much speed onto that grass that you are never getting it pulled up, and you're hoping and praying that you miss the car that unfortunately your trajectory is pointed towards. And 9 times out of 10, like that, they make contact. So it's just a tough go. It's no one's fault. It's just a mistake from Jace at that point. So. Delmar, though, into pit lane once again as Madore continues his battle with Xavier Sernar up the field inside of the top 10. As we've only got a handful of laps left to run here at Phillip Island.
The last lap here started now, isn't it? Penultimate
it
lap?
has.
No,
it has. No. We got one more. One more for Adam Merchant after this lap. So 2 laps to run. The end of this race. Brenner and Pedersen's battle continues on, as does Sernar and Madore's as well. But Brenner has managed to offload Pedersen at this point. It'll be 2 laps for them to get this job done, if they can. So Pedersen needs to try and push on. Brenner needs to try and push on. If they've banked any push to pass, save it for the final lap, because it's going to be a final lap dash to the checkered flag with 2 laps left to run for these guys now. The leaders are down at Siberia and running up towards... actually, no, they're up at Lukey Heights. That's how far ahead they are. So the leaders are about to start their final lap, including Adam Merchant, who is 5.2 seconds ahead of Jaden Callaway, as he is running down through turn 11 at this point. So the battle for P4 is up at turn 5. There's no battle for P1, but P1... It's about to start our final lap now, with 1 lap left to go for the race leader, Adam Merchant.
Yep, white flag right now being displayed. So this is it. Any opportunity that Nick can to fight back from AJ Brenner, who's up the biggest amount of gains at the moment from the number 8. He's up 10 places. It goes off the track. So that will hand that place to Nick, but he will have time, of course, to try to fight back on that situation.
He's got a lap to do it. He's got a lap. So Callaway as well set the fast lap of the race last time by 111.66. Brenner's got the run. Overtake is maximum. He's got 17 seconds left of deployment. I think Pedersen has more. I feel Pedersen has got quite a fair bit more than Brenner does. So he'll be trying to use this now to his absolute maximum. Just to give you the heads up, Merchant is heading up towards Lukey Heights and in towards MG. So he's only got a couple of corners to go before he claims the win. We'll head straight back to that battle between Brenner and Pedersen once Merchant has crossed the line. But for Adam Merchant, with 20-odd seconds of overtake in the tank as he runs at round turn 12, he'll take the double win at Phillip Island. He does the double and takes it at Phillip Island here this evening, but Brenner, his teammate, is still battling with Pedersen. Fastest up of the race for Merchant, 111.36. Callaway comes home. P2 Pedersen runs it wide at Lukey Heights. Set it a bit too hard. And it is tears for fears for Nick Pedersen, who is now head over heels with what could have been in this race. Brenner is looking to come home P4. Sanchez is going to come home P5. Felipe Sarkis made it onto the podium in the end. What a comeback for Sanchez. Pedersen P6. Sernar, Madore, the top 8, Delmar and Turnbull for your top 10 in the end. With Isidro, Meyer, Mayorga, Johnson, Bianchi, Nobles, Divine, the non-finishers in race 2.
What a risking it for the biscuit moment there at the moment. Just wanted to fight, Nick did. He wanted that position. He didn't want to give it to AJ Brammer. They were having a fantastic brew between them. and then one little mistake, runs off there. Thankfully, did keep it out of the fence, but had to yield that to Fabian Sanchez. That will say, thank you very much. I'll be happy to take that P5 because that will continue for his little points run as well too. Because remember, those drivers are at the top of the timesheets when it comes to the championship standings.
It means that he's not giving up too much to Jaden now. End of lap 1, he would have felt deplorable and felt that, oh, not deplorable, he would have felt absolutely disheveled, knowing that he had so much work to do in this race to fight from the back of the field to get back up to the front. P5 will feel like a win for Fabian tonight because it's a good finish. It's 2 top 5s here at Phillip Island, and he's only given up a couple of points to Callaway, so that is the crucial part. But the official, or the provisional results here for the feature on your screen: Merchant takes the win to Jaden Callaway, Felipe Sarkis, AJ Brenner the top 4, Sanchez, Pedersen, Cernama, Dore, Delmar and Turnbull will be the last of the finishers. Isidro, Meyer, Mayorga, Johnson, Bianchi, Nobles and Devine back of the field in this race. But Dean, it's been an absolute pleasure once again to call the action of the League Zero Super Formula Championship here for round 7 at Phillip Island. Next week, we'll be back May 8th for round 8 of the Nürburgring Grand Prix Strecker, the WEC layout, for some high quality Grand Prix action to begin our final run towards the final round of the season. The double header of European circuits of the Nürburgring and then Imola the week after, and then we head out for the freedom fight at the Circuit of the Americas for the final round of the season. A big thank you to their series sponsor, Inca Salsa, fresh homemade salsa, as well as Critical Video, MSR Performance Engineering, and the Goon Squad as well. For myself, Hamish, and Dean Biggles alongside. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you taking time out of your lives, out of your days, out of your evenings, whatever it may be, to watch along with us, whether you're watching us live or post-show as well. Be sure to hit the like button and subscribe, the bell icon, so you're notified whenever we go racing here on JP Broadcasting with a world tour worth of racing series across a multitude of sims. There's plenty of opportunities on the offer here, on the docket for you to watch some high quality sim racing across a multitude of categories and sims as well. But thank you so much for joining us here this evening. See you guys next week from the Nürburgring, but until then, stay safe, drive hard, and as always, bye for now.